From Oklahoma.
Thank you. As all my friends know, I've had an interest in this issue, and nobody in Congress better than my friend Mr. McClintock on Native American issues. But I'll add a gentle reminder that the federal government hasn't always guarded the property rights of all of its citizens and or people, and has quite frequently violated them. And I want to thank my good friend from Mike for trying to make sure that that does not happen. Last year, we did, on our side of the Red River, our tribal nations did have serious concerns, and we brought an amendment to that effect. Mr. Thornberry has been tremendously professional and kind in working with us. And we've consulted our tribal governments at each stage. And to reinforce your point, Mr. Chairman, they see this as something that will allow us to get to an equitable dispute as a process issue and as a fair process issue in which they have been included and consulted. So while they don't like my good friend from Dallas, they don't know the final result of this. They think they have a process set up that will help us resolve this in a fair manner. And with all due respect to my friends that put a great deal of stock in the 1923 Supreme Court decision, I just would remind you that the Southern Bank was at one time the boundary of the Comanche Nation, not the middle of the river, not the north. And so their view of that decision is very different. It wouldn't be the first time that the Supreme Court has erred or disregarded, particularly in that particular era, just to be frank. The courts are much more sensitive these days, and frankly, so is the Congress. And that's a credit to everybody. And again, I want to thank my friend, Mr. Thornberry, for working with us in such good faith, because I know this is important to many of his constituents. I have constituents with property ownings on both sides of the Red River as well. I have tribal nations that have concerns. My friend has worked very hard to try and give everybody an equal process here and shot. And I do think there is a federal responsibility here in terms of paying for it, because frankly, it was the federal government that helped create the issue in the first place. No matter which you are, and I think they have made it murkier, and not just in the 2009 BLM decision. I think they made it murkier in 1923 through the Supreme Court. And I think they've, not deliberately, but there's been aspersions cast on titles. There's been disregard for indigenous rights, and I think Mr. Thornberry, in the very best traditions of this body, has tried to work with everybody concerned, and I've worked with my good friend and his Committee on Natural Resources and come to a process that will let us solve it. I will add this, probably the people with the most concern about this are Texans and Oklahomans and tribal members, obviously, as well, on our side in tribal governance, and they are pleased with this. They think this is a fair process. So I don't see that to ask anybody a question, because I think everybody here is in good faith, no matter what your point of view is, and I appreciate that. I really very much do. My good friend from Hawaii has done a lot for Native Americans in her tenure in Congress, and someday we'll reciprocate by Congress doing the right thing for Native Hawaiians too. And,
I'll hold you to that.
you don't have to worry about me.
I know.
I can give you a list, though. I just again, I'll close with this. I want to thank my friend. I think he worked very hard to get us to the right place here. The tribes in question are satisfied that this is a fair process, and that at the end of it, we'll have an opportunity to come to an equitable solution for all concerned. So with that, yield back, no questions, but just a lot of thank yous to all around the table.
Chairman, thank you very much for your words of